It's Dell Jackson, and we are featuring a new feature here on LL Hoops called Press Break. We want to try to do this maybe weekly. We'll kind of play it by ear, but we're going to be hosted by the same guys. Tonight we have Rocky Parise and Andy Herr, our top writer, our top media guy. And tonight we're sponsored by My Jersey, which is Rocky's company. We're also sponsoring by Spooky Nook and Circle W. Circle W is it's the team behind our team. So they take care of all our little problems, and we're doing a little adjustment on the website. So Circle W basically does sports. So if you're into sports and web design, they would be the guys to go. So welcome, Rocky. What are your thoughts here, just in general, coming into this show tonight?
Thanks for having me. I guess I was texting Gordy Jones before I hopped on here. I said, I'm fulfilling my dream, Gordy, of being like you and being a media guy now that I'm out of playing and coaching now. So he said we must have different dreams or something like that. He gave me some smart comments. So he said, hi, Dell. He said, hi, Andy.
Nice.
One of my favorite guys in the business, Gordy Jones. But yeah, I'm really excited to help you guys out as much as I can and talk hoops and try to stay connected as much as I can.
Nice. Let's give us just a little bit about your company, My Jersey, and give us a little bit about your podcast that you're doing. Everybody's finding that very interesting, and you scored a big one this last week with a Reading High coach.
Yeah, thanks. Just something to fill my time. I started up a little company. It's not my main job, but I work for Goodville Mutual Insurance out there in New Holland. That's my real job. Great company out there if anybody needs insurance. Great company, homeowners and auto. I started a little company called My Jersey Designs. We replicate game jerseys. It's not a real jersey, it's a graphic design. We print them out high def, 24 inches by 36 inches, custom frame, ship them to your door. We can design any jersey off of a picture. And then the podcast thing, I was actually on a podcast with Gordy and Mike Gross. And right after that, I was like, man, that was fun just sitting there talking about basketball. And immediately after that, I contacted, a coaching buddy of mine who had just resigned too, and is a little bit younger than me, Kevin Sheeler from Central York. He was a much better coach than I was. And I figured if I was going to start a coaching podcast, he'd be the guy to go to, because you always want to get somebody better than yourself. And we just had no idea what we're doing. We started up, and now here we are 14 episodes in, and we just got lucky getting Coach Rick Perez from Reading on to have him talk about the situation out there in Reading. So, just trying to stay busy, stay connected to the game, and I appreciate you guys for helping me do that.
Well, we're looking forward to some coaching input from somebody that's been in the trenches recently. So that's going to be a really good catch for us. We're back with Andy. Andy, are we ready, buddy? Are we ready for this year, man? I like your top tonight.
I do. I think we're ready. God willing, hopefully this next hour or so isn't in vain, or at least we get some sort of morsel of something this year. But yeah, I think we're all itching. We're all itching to get back. Whatever it looks like, who really cares at this point? As long as we get in, that's what we're all looking for. Players, media, coaches, we're all itching. We just want to get back in it. And that's what we're doing here tonight. For whatever the season's going to look like, we'll try and sort things out and make heads or tails of everything. And we'll get after it here for the next hour and change, I guess.
Nice. Hey, on the website right now for the teams, I posted up the schedules 2 weeks ago, and things have changed already, and I'm sure that we'll have a lot of changes. So everybody got to bear with us on that. We're always looking for sponsors, so anybody that's willing to help us with some things, we're going to try to live stream again this year. We bought some new equipment, so we'll see how that goes. I was going to talk about last year a little bit, and I'll let Rocky and Andy talk about that just a hair. I did put up, Andy, I did put up the link on tonight's show. I did put up the link which you and I talked about last year. We had some video clips of Catholic, of Crest. We also did the LL final. So we have some of that stuff. So I'll start with Andy. And Andy, just kind of a big picture of what happened last year.
I think what happened last year, just looking at this year coming up, you're probably going to see a part and parcel of what last year was, in the sense that I think you're going to have a very competitive league in all sorts of sections, but I don't think you're going to have, with the exception of possibly one team, you're not really going to have anybody really running away with anything. Now, that's kind of a chicken and an egg argument. And is that going to be good for the league or bad for the league? You know, is it good to have everybody super, super competitive, or is it better to have somebody carrying the banner that, you know, can go far in districts and states or whatever the case may be with that? And obviously last year we didn't really have that in terms of the state. I know obviously the coach we have on here was fortunate enough to win one of the games, and then we had Catholic win that same weekend. But other than that, I think we got, what was it, 5 teams into states, and everybody with the exception of those 2 got bounced. And then E-Town lost. I was down there at Coatesville. They lost the second round game, and Catholic, they were the lone soldier left when everything got canceled because they had that 17 overtime game against Ringgold or whoever it was. So that's kind of what my feeling is for this year. I don't know who really is going to advance themselves far beyond, you know, the league slate, but I've been wrong before, but that's just kind of my assumption of where I think we're at. And, you know, I think last year is going to look a lot like this year, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Rocky, from your point of view, I mean, you were in the trenches last year. You were in the LLs, districts, PIAA. What was your basic thoughts as a coach and kind of guiding your team through that?
Well, I mean, we were lucky to have the experience of getting to the state playoffs the year before and losing that overtime game, which we thought, you know, we should have won. We had a shot at the buzzer that rimmed out to win that state game against Johnstown 2 years ago. So we had some experience in the state playoffs going back in, and obviously we got, you know, lucky with the matchup that we had. Their best player was suspended, you know, and that always goes with it, guys. I mean, you know, we sit here and we talk about the season. Who knows what kind of luck you're going to have with injuries, with matchups. You know, so many people talk about coaching and playing. I mean, there's so much luck that goes into it too. So, you know, I know we have kind of that top dog going into the league this year, but who knows what it's going to look like at the end of the season. And this is what I'll say about this year. I think if this year more than any, I think you could have a team come out of nowhere and make a run, not only in the league playoffs, but in district playoffs, because nobody has had that time to prepare as much as they do in the off season. You know, we really prided ourselves, and we weren't good enough to just roll the ball out there and win games. We had, I mean, you guys know, we had to grind, you know, 11 months a year. We took one month a year off. You don't have that now. You've had guys that haven't been together since, you know, the teams that didn't make the state playoffs haven't been together since February. So that's an advantage for the teams that are a little bit lower. And I think that brings everybody into a little bit more even of a playing field. So and along with the shortened schedule, anything could happen with the shortened schedule. A couple teams are hot early. You know, I think this is a year that anything could happen.
I'll tell you what, a couple of things that hit my mind today when I was talking to a couple coaches. It's like some of the coaches have never had a Thanksgiving break. And some of those guys right now, because of COVID, because of schools being closed down, they're not allowed to be in a gym. So they actually have a chance to be with their family, and the league doesn't start till January. So some of them, you know, it's probably good recharge. So that being said, let's get into what tonight's all about. So tonight we're talking about a preview. We're talking about some teams, some Section 1. I'll get started here. I did some stats today, and the one thing that I did see is Coach Smith from Cedar Crest and Coach Danny Walk they're going into their 11th year with their team. Now, we did a little research on Danny, and he's like 23 years, and he's coached 2 or 3 different teams, 3 at least that I can know of. And anyway, we're going to talk about Section 1. We're going to turn it over to Andy and kind of talk about what you see as teams, Andy, and maybe some players to watch in Section 1.
Let me get my papers out right here, fellas.
Oh,
I got all my rosters. Section 1, not to cop out, but I'm probably going to lean on both of you guys for Section 1. To me, this is the dartboard division, all like for the entire league. I can't pick somebody. And which is so weird, because it's kind of, when have we ever really said that about Section 1, where it's like, it seems so even. And I think that's kind of what I'm going back to with the league in general, where usually Section 1 can rue the day for the league and kind of carry that banner. But man, I don't know. I struggled with this one mightily. I like Township's guards. I really, really do. Hart's, Miller, Engel, Weaver. I mean, they're going to be smaller than what they were in years past. They don't have Oldak. They don't have, Ben Mann or Mickey Stokes to really stretch the floor. Kind of going back to what Rock said, a team that, one of these teams that might be kind of coming out of nowhere. I think Hempfield's back on the upswing. I really do. I know they didn't have a fantastic year last year, but I'm really, really high on Ryan Hilton. I like his game an awful lot. Davion Edmond, the transfer from Columbia, really gives them a nice athletic, inside presence that to be honest, now in this year in Section 1, I don't know who can really match up with that. Crest, they lost their two biggest guys, their two best guys, but then just looking at their sheet too of last year's roster, they kind of got decimated in their guards too from graduation. I don't know if I'm going for picks. And McCaskey too. I mean, how did I just only bet to McCaskey? I mean, seriously, that's how wacky Section 1 is. You lose Elijah Terry, you lose Carter Gingrich, and Mekhi Ortiz-Gray, who was kind of the Robin to Terry's Batman.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You guys can step on me if you want. I'll say Township. I'll say Hempfield or Crest, somewhere in that. I really don't like saying McCaskey at 4 and Penn Manor at 5, but I'm struggling here, fellas. You guys probably know this section better than I do because I go all over the place. So,
well, I think with playing against those guys and also just seeing a lot of those guys that are coming up now in AAU through the years, I think Township has a lot of young talent coming up. And you said the Oldak's gone. Don't forget about the younger Oldak, Brock Oldak. He's going to be a junior. He's bigger than his brother, and we played against him in a summer league game last year. He had 33 on us. Now it wasn't for Township. He was playing it with some other AAU team or something. They needed a team to fill in against. But I think he's somebody that could break onto the scene. Cedar Crest is going to reload. They always do. They'll find guys to play. But, Cedar Crest has a really, really talented 8th and 9th grade class that's getting ready to play. That's getting ready to come up in the next few years. Hempfield, the ebbs and flows that they go through, they're due for a good team. I know they have that overball kid coming up, and he's going to have a pretty good year. McCaskey will reload, and don't forget they had that freshman last year, Bird. He'll be a sophomore.
Right.
He came in and played a bunch of minutes against us, and as far as Penn Manor goes, Larry's just going to do a great job. I mean, he's going to coach his butt off, and he's going to get those guys ready to play. They've started out hot the last couple of years. So I do think that's wide open, but just from what I've seen in the past, if you had to press me on it, with the great job that Matt and Coach Stu and Coach Butt do out of Township and the talent they have coming up, that's probably who I'd pick too. So all you other Section 1 schools, put your dartboard up there and use that for some bulletin board material.
Nice. Well, the nice thing is the Section 1 boys, they all play against each other, and it's always fun. It kind of reminds me of a couple years ago where there were just teams just beating on each other every night, and there wasn't like a top dog. And usually somebody kind of raises up out of the pack. Let's go back to Rock here a little bit. Rock, like Section 1, and I know we're going to miss some guys, and I'm telling everybody right now, if we miss somebody, that's good. Put it on the bulletin board, get better, because Andy and me, and probably we'll put Rocky in there this year. We select the all LO Hoops team based on what you do, not based on your past, or not based on what somebody thinks and all that. So, go out and show it. But, we have an hour. We don't have 5 hours here to deal with things. So I'm going to go back to Rocky. And Rock, give me 2, 3, 4 top players in Section 1 coming back.
Well, I think you have to start with the Township guards like like Andy said. And the one that really came on last year as a sophomore, Andy helped me out with his name. Hit a bunch of threes against us, just absolutely killed us.
Seth Miller, I think.
Yeah. So I'd probably, he's somebody that's coming up. I said the Overball kid from Hempfield, Cedar Crest, they're going to reload. Tommy Smith just has a machine there. So I don't really think, they have that O'Leary or Eberhardt like they had last year yet. And just to preface all that, all you people out there listening, like, I'm sure next year going into this, there's going to be an O'Leary and an Eberhardt and Cedar Crest. We just don't know who they are yet. And I think that's kind of the landscape in Section 1. But again, I hate to say it, going back to Township, that Brock Oldak kid killed us last summer. I'm anxious to see what he's going to do this year.
Well,
I want to ask you a question. Go ahead, Dell.
I'll throw this in. I mean, I see Township a lot just because they're close to me and they play good games. And for some reason, I've seen them a lot. And the one thing that impresses me probably more than a lot of teams is their post play and what Coach Butt does with some of those big. I mean, they run some nice stuff and they definitely look to get the ball inside at places. And it's kind of cool to watch those kids progress. So we'll see some young guys. All right, go ahead, Andy, with your question.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with what Rock was saying. Tommy had, and you just said it in your actual opening with that, this being his 11th year up there at Crest. I mean, he's created a true program. It's not a blip on the screen for, this is a great 2-year cycle and now we're down in the dumps type of thing. Like, so yes, they will reload. I've said this before, that Crest DNA thing, like, that's real. Like, trust me, they get under your skin and they see all this stuff, and I'm sure they're going to pay attention to this and look at this. People are doubting us. They use that to the nth degree so perfectly. So yes, that's good there. But Rock, I wanted to ask you this, and I know you played McCaskey super early and you only played him once, but they weren't very deep, were they? I know I saw them in the Chambersburg game. I don't remember them going that deep.
No, like I said, they brought that freshman Bird off the bench, and he played some against us. But yeah, I mean, they really leaned like we did. They leaned a lot on their seniors with the Ortiz Gray kid and obviously the other guard,
Elijah.
Yeah, Elijah Terry. I mean, they leaned on them, which they should have. Those guys should have played 32 minutes a game. So. But again, I mean, they're going to have guys. They're going to have guys that are going to come out of nowhere, and this is a really good opportunity for all these Section 1 guys. There's going to be some players who come out of nowhere and make a name for themselves this year. And remember, players, the only way you make a name for yourself is if your team wins. If you don't win, nobody cares about you.
Probably a lot of truth there. Hey, I'll throw one little tidbit in because I have to, because I did a little research today. Cedar Crest. Going back to Andy's point and what they've done with Coach Tommy Smith, I coached against him when they first started. I was an assistant at Penn Manor, and they weren't very good to start. But I have him down at 173 and 93. That's pretty good for a Section 1 coach, because I can look at these other records. It's like, it's tough. It's tough. So let's switch.
And if you talk to Tommy, all he would say is, yeah, because they great talent. He
course.
did have talent. Tommy knows what he's doing, man, and he does a great job at Cedar Crest. So much respect for what he's done there.
And they all play defense, and they all have this thing, right there. Sometimes it gets a little bit bigger, sometimes a little smaller, but it's always there. It's always there. Let's switch gears. Let's go to Section 2. I'll tell you what, we got 3 brand new coaches. Well, one's not brand new, but brand new to his school. We got Jim Shipper at CV. He was at E-Town College, so a little E-Town College alum there, Rock. And we got Lee Eckert. He was also an E-Town guy. He's at E-Town. He was at E-Town College his first year, taking Rocky's place as his assistant. So I'm sure Rocky can tell us a lot about Lee and his work habits. And we got Scott Gaffey that's taken over the Ephrata job. And I have maybe some Gaffey stories, but probably about the old man. So Scott Gaffey's got quite a family tree, and we did a great Zoom with him, and I think I have a picture of him and his dad and his granddad on there. It's just awesome. We got Tim Spiro entering his 11th year. Now, let me tell you guys something here. Tim Spiro, 11th year at Lebanon, is the longest tenure Lebanon coach ever in the LL. How about that? One wouldn't think that Lebanon would have that turnover, but they have. And I know Coach Barnhart, he went in and out, but I'm not going to count that as two, but he's got the longest tenure. And I think he's got the longest tenure with 11 years. So that's pretty impressive in itself. And then we got Warwick, which everybody's going to put the big tag on their back with Coach Christensen. So LL runner-up last year and the year before. So we're going to start with, let's start with Rocky. Okay, Rock, you're on Section 2. I mean, who would know more about Section 2 than Rocky Parise?
There you go. Well, before I start off, since I'm a rookie and I haven't done this before, I forgot to mention Ryan Hilton. I had him down in my notes here as a top player coming back for Hempfield. Ryan actually played in the AAU organization that I coached growing up. He's a phenomenal competitor. I think he's going to have a great year. So Ryan, I'm sorry for missing out on you there. But I thought I'd correct that first. But yes, I mean, look, Section 2, 3 new coaches. Warwick coming back with a ton of talent. I joke with Coach Christensen all the time that he ruined my time at E-Town because he dropped down into Section 2 and we couldn't win a section championship. But he's got that great crop of kids that are seniors now. With Sapala and Joey McCracken, and then Tate Landis, very, very, very good guard. He's a junior. So I think it starts there. And then I got to go back to my claw ball. I mean, Lee's coming in. He was my assistant for 4 years. Been at E-Town for 5 years. They returned one of the top players in Section 2, Luke Pearson, who's going to Juniata to play. Phenomenal athlete and competitor. They got a great junior coming up, Pat Gilhole. We call him Patty McBuckets. He's going to have a big year. And a guy to look out for, Teach Gonkwe. He's a guard, played a little bit for us last year as a sophomore. He's going to take over the reins of the point guard. So that gives them a pretty good three guys to start out with. And they have a 6'7" freshman. Look out for him, Matthew Gilhole, actually Patty McBucket's brother. A freshman, and not sure if we'll see him or not on the varsity level, but he's somebody to look out for. So I think E-Town's going to be right there. I think Lebanon is very, very good again with their guards coming back with Luke and Ferrara, and then they had great years last year. I think they're both juniors, and then Rodriguez, the big guy, the quarterback of the football team, he's a senior. So they bring 3 really good players back. So I think that's where it starts in Section 2. And with CV, I know they have some talent. Luke Rumblaw can really shoot the ball. Austin Wirtz, he can score from all over the floor. I'm hearing really good things about him. And actually, there's a guy I was talking to Coach Shipper the other day, Cam Swinton, whose brother Swinton played for McCaskey a couple years ago. Coach Shipper expects big things out of him. So, I have a lot of respect for Coach Shipper. He's going to do great things at CV. It's just a matter of how quickly he can get them done. And then obviously, Coach Gaffey. I've known him for years. Know Coach Gaff, his dad for years. He's going to do a really good job at Ephrata. And I know that Ephrata has some talent, like we talked about with Cedar Crest. Ephrata has some talent come up in junior high. So it's just a matter of getting, his systems in place and seeing what it looks like there in Ephrata.
Let me ask you this, Rock, because I didn't see maybe I saw him once last year, but did they have some kids that played a lot last year that are coming back, or was last year a senior laden team?
It was a little bit of both. They had some good guards coming back, but again, I think the challenge that Coach Gaffey's going to have is the challenge that I had at E-Town when I started was, marrying that young talent with the older kids, and how do you go about doing that coming off of, I don't know what they were last year, 1-21 or something like that. It's just going to be a matter of how he can put that all together. But he's a really good young coach, comes from a good a good coaching tree and family. He'll figure it out.
Cool. All right, Andy, what are your thoughts? Section 2.
Well, my thoughts are Rock can say he's a rookie, but he certainly knows how to steal all my thunder. I mean,
You asked me about section 2, I gave it to you.
Oh, man. Hey, I'm sure you're going to get some screen time with section 3, 4, and 5 coming up there, brother.
I know, I'll make up for it. No, I mean, I don't want to be anticlimactic because this is the season preview show and say that everybody's kind of playing for second, but I kind of think everybody's playing for second. I like Warwick that much. All the pieces are there. I guess the only thing I could probably say about them is I wish they would shoot a little bit more consistently, but that's probably nitpicking for, all the pieces they have. Now, is that to say that they're a superhuman behemoth that is going to go undefeated and can't be beaten for 32 minutes or 32 minutes plus? I don't think so, but I would say, just looking at everybody else, I think if Warwick in a 7-game series, I don't think they're losing any one of them. I honestly feel that way. To be honest, I think maybe their stiffest competition might come from in their own backyard with Lebanon. Rocky already talked about it. I really like Luke Collins an awful lot. I like Rodriguez an awful lot. All the guys he named. And a couple of years ago, if you remember, Lebanon was young and they kind of took their lumps, and it was kind of one of those, we'll get through this now, but then check back in with us a year from now. Well, it's now a year from now. And unfortunately, Warwick is still the big bad wolf, but I think this is when Lebanon can finally make some hay. And I think they can take at least one of them from Warwick in the season series if they do, in fact, play two. And then, yeah, E-Town, there's no better source on E-Town stuff than the guy who had the biggest win in school history and everything he just laid out. So I like E-Town a lot too. And this might sound weird, but CV and Effort are going to be the two teams I think in the entire league I'm looking at the most, because if you look at the schools that are currently within the Section 2 footprint, I think if E-Town, or not E-Town, if CV and Effort get back to, on level footing with everybody else, I think this can be an awesome section, routinely, if everybody is hitting on par with what they probably should be. And yes, it's going to be a little bit of a rebuild at Effort. They went 0 for last year, and I think they have the right guy. Some new blood is good. And the pieces are there. Effort is not a community devoid of talent or anything like that. And CV too. I think CV is the sleeping giant in the league just because of their geography. And as you said, I mean, they're taking a kid from McCaskey, so they touch that border. They can play off of that. And Luke Rumbaugh is really a good place to start. I mean, the kid, he's one of those guys that when he gets off the bus or when you're playing on pickup, it's like, I really don't want to take him. And then next thing you know, he hits about 5 threes on you. And you lose.
I mean, last year we really had to prepare for him. I mean, they ran him off, 2-3 screens, and we had to just make sure we put somebody bigger on him and just didn't let him shoot. So he's a problem. And, it's just a matter of how quick Coach Shipper can turn that ship around, because they got talent, and they got talent at the junior high level coming up too.
Yeah, that's a good punt. I like that. Turning the ship around. I like that.
Yeah. And hey, this is the last thing I'll say about Section 2. You kind of have those like big threes, like I talked about with Warwick having their big three with Landis and Sapala and McCracken. You got Lebanon's big three with Ferreira, Luke, and Rodriguez. And you got E-Town. I mean, right there with Pearson and Gilhul and Gonkwe, and it's just a matter of what they can put around those guys. Who's going to be deeper and the fourth and fifth guys. I think that could be the big difference in a lot of those games.
Let me ask Rock one thing, and then we'll move on to Section 3. So, Coach Shipper going to bring some flex to CV?
I sure hope so. That's the rumor anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if he brought some base flex, ran some nice side ball screen action out of it. But yeah, I could see him bringing some flex definitely to CV.
Okay. I was up there for 3 or 4 years, and Rocky was there for 4 years, and it's like I can just hear like 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. It's like we're gonna see some of that stuff next year. I think. I could be wrong, but you know.
If he's got time to put it in, that's the thing. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the
Right.
thing. He's been shut down a couple times. I talked to him today. They're not practicing. They're starting next week sometime, and he'll get there. He'll get there.
Yeah.
The dude knows basketball. All right, let's shift to section 3, Andy's backyard. I'm just looking at it, and you know, we talk about Cedar Crest, we talk about Warwick, but there's another big bad bear in the room in section 3, and nobody seems to be able to beat these guys since Coach Berriman's been at the helm. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Now this will be the first year without one of those name guys shooting threes and running the court and being at Lancaster Bible. So I know Andy thinks it's a good section. So we'll go right to Andy here. Go ahead, Andy. Give us a rundown.
I agree. Last year I said section 4 was kind of my section to watch, and this year I'm shifting that focus to section 3. There's a lot to like here. There really is. I said before, Carter Nunnerville at Cacalico. He's one of those kids that if you haven't heard of him yet or seen him yet, you will, just because of the year I'm thinking Cacalico is going to have. They have Central in there, who we joked with Coach Fish, who has 78 kids on his varsity coming back. But that you just let it off perfectly. I just said Cacalico and Central, and how dare I not speak about LS when they have ownership rights to that section of late. And LS, speaking on them, they're the one team I'm frustrated with in the sense that I didn't go out this summer. I tried to mind my P's and Q's and not go into, Nook or spaces. Just, I didn't want to get involved in the numbers game and possibly kick somebody out. So what I will say is, even though I kind of was doing my prodding around of coaches and, hey, how are you guys doing? And who else are you seeing? Unsolicited, multiple unsolicitations on my phone this summer. I got, have you seen LS? Like, is LS supposed to be this good? And that's not me poking around. That's people coming to me and saying what they saw, like really excited them or really alarmed them if they see LS on their schedule this year. The cool nugget about them that I don't know if a lot of people know is they have a freshman transfer from IMG coming in this year. So he is a local kid and he's a freshman. So I don't know if Coach Cal and Coach K and Roy Williams are going to be sniffing around here this year, but not for nothing. I think that has to mean something. So I wanted to throw that in there. But in terms of projections, like I said, I like the boys in my backyard now. I like Cacalico. I like Nunnerville a lot. Augie Gerhardt is a bigger body. Dell, you and I were discussing him for the last couple of weeks. How big is he? Mm-hmm. I got 6'6" or 6'5" on here. I've heard as big as 6'6" or 6'7". Section 3 doesn't have a lot of those dudes rolling around. And the other thing about Augie too is he's filled out better this year with his body, and he can elevate too. I sent out a Twitter video this year of Nunnerville and Trey Rios, their shooter, kind of playing a 3-man game over at Nook, and it ended Gerhardt throwing down a 2-handed flush, which I don't know the last time they had a guy that could dunk at Cacalico. So I like all their pieces, especially for the way they want to play. Like if they would play, up and down or something like that, I might be like, I don't know if that works, but we know how it is. They want to muck it up. They want to make it ugly because that's what they know how to do. And again, you start off with Gerhardt. Rios is a shooter, but above everything else with Nunnerville, if they get into trouble, he is that guy. If they get in danger, they can just give him the ball and say, Carter, please bring us home. And he has the ability to do that. But for picks, I mean, Calico's who I have to start with. I'm really struggling with Central and LS for that 2 or 3 slot. If I saw LS, I would feel a lot better. But the advice I got from the guys who saw them this summer, I have to take that into account, even though these 2 eyeballs didn't see them. But I mean, how can you go against a school that's bringing everybody back? I mean, with Central, this section is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, you have the rivalries baked in. You have Cacalico and Central who don't like each other. You have LS who doesn't want to give up their ownership rights. And oh yeah, by the way, you also have Solanco in there who routinely has guys who get overlooked. And oh yeah, by the way, Spot's also in there who went to states 2 years ago now, and they also bring back Joe Sharp. So there's a lot to like about Section 3. This is going to be my favorite this year. I don't know. That's just my 5-minute synopsis, which probably went way longer than 5 minutes. But
I think I'm going to step out, Andy, and I got Central here, man. I think this has been building for them, and it starts with Cam, it starts with Trey. I mean, you got the best shooter in the league last year. Trey was as a freshman. I mean, nobody really talked about it, but nobody shot the ball better than him, and he was a freshman last year. And I got so much. I mean, coaching against Coach Fish my first 2 years, when he was at Ephrata, and then when we played him his first year at Central. I mean, he's just a great coach. Like he knows what he's doing. He grinds games out. And his goal is not to be pretty, and it's not to, be flashy. It is to do whatever it takes to win the game. And I just think they've been down, 10 and 12 last year. I think they're right on the cusp. But again, you got 4 teams there that, I mean, don't throw Garden Spot out. Coach Muss is going to have those guys playing tough. He's going to have them playing hard. And I know 2 years ago when we played them, they had a group of 9th graders on that JV team that was killing us. So I know that he's got some young talent coming up there, and you never count Cacalico out. I mean, Cacalico's, my gosh, they're going to grind guys. They're going to screen you hard. They're going to knock you down. Seth's a lifer up there at Cacalico. He's got that program trending in the right direction. And then it's just a matter of LS. As LS, they got some young talent coming up through the AAU ranks, and then that's not always this recipe for success. Then how do you put those guys together, like you said, also with that freshman? So I think it is a 4-team race there. Don't throw Garden Spot out of that. And no disrespect to Solanco. Coach Long's still building there. I just don't think they're ready yet, but they will be. But I'm going with Central.
I think I think we'll have to get a live stream game or two there, Andy, when we get our schedule together. Hopefully. Let me ask you this, Andy. I saw Solanco play once, maybe twice last year. They had some young guys. Can you mention any names on their team, guys to look forward to this year as they grow? I know they were playing some young guys. They had a couple of seniors, but I think basically it was a start over year for them.
Yeah, I mean, Colson Schaefer, we put him on the All-Star team. I forget if it was second or first team, but he's definitely going to be the centerpiece really for Solanco's year this year. Ryan Smith, not to be confused with the Ryan Smith, I guess, around these parts, but he's also a good place to start for Solanco. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, as a team, to Rock's point, I don't know if they're quite ready for prime time with the teams that are in here right now, but it's not like they're totally devoid of talent. I'm not trying to state that. It's just that I don't know if they have the collective pieces, at least again, on paper.
It takes time. It takes time. Right. I can tell you guys that from experience. It takes time to build that, and he will.
Okay. So Section 3 looks like maybe pretty good even race there, at least preseason. One never knows. Let's shift over to Section 4. Talk about Big Bad Bears. I'm looking at Lancaster Catholic, and last year Andy and I talked in our preseason, and it's like this could be the year that somebody gets them. And I was going to throw a trivia out there. It's like, which LL team finished without a loss at the end of the season? And that would be Lancaster Catholic. I mean, because they didn't get to play that last game, but they're Andy's laughing.
It's true. It's true.
I'll tell you what, there is some players in this section. So we'll start with Andy. Go ahead, Andy. I mean, I got the Big Bad Bear, Lancaster Catholic, and I know there's a team down here kind of outside our county that wants to get into that race as well.
You're right. That's where I'm starting, though. I'm starting in Lancaster City. I don't know if he's the most talented player in the league, but he's certainly the most valuable, in my opinion, with Devin Atkinson. He's the engine that makes that thing run. And with this being his senior year, I have no reason to suspect it's going to be any different. Nevin Roman is also back. I know we put him, I think, on section 4, second team last year. And Ross Conway, I see, was also a junior last year. And you know, they're going to find a few pieces there that we haven't seen yet, or the guys that were on varsity that didn't get a lot of PT, which, I mean, they're just going to elevate. But yeah, I mean, I like those pieces for Catholic, and not for nothing, I think it helps when you have the best coach in the league, in my opinion, running the show. I'll take those bets every day of the week. But you're right. If Octorara is going to kind of take that first look at us LL type year, this could be it, because I thought Elko was kind of blocking their path last year, but obviously Elko got decimated by graduation. And again, Braden Bohannon is certainly a fantastic key to build around, but I mean, the human pogo stick for Octorara is coming back. I mean, he's 6'7" on my sheet. I mean, he's at least 10 foot when he dunks on the rim, right? I mean, that's 10 feet. There's not a lot of those guys running around in Section 4. Philip Brandon, another good, you know, caliber point guard. And that's the thing with Octorara. Like, Najee's that good piece inside, but we know how they play. Without the guards, it just wouldn't look right. And I know they took somewhat of a hit with some graduation losses at guard, but it's not a total wholesale change. So they're going to have some guys that know how to do that, that like 94 foot in your face, you get a shot, but we're going to shoot 2 seconds after type of thing. That's just how they play, and it works for them. But for my money, I think if you're going to buy a team in the entire league who has their stock kind of on the low right now, I would buy Northern Lebanon. Some might call me crazy. I love Owen Treadway and Peyton Wolf, 2 little tiny guards, but man, they are ferocious. And again, you're going to get a good return on investment. I think if you buy low now, I'm not saying they're going to finish in second, but I think they're going to finish right on the heels of somebody in second place for Section 4. I really like them. We say how much of a snake pit that place is to play. They always get somebody who they probably shouldn't get, who they will take Catholic to the wire or beat them or whoever. I like Northern Lebanon a lot. Again, I'm not saying that they're going to be one of the 2 teams from Section 4 that make it, but that's going to be a team who is my dark horse, probably league-wide, but certainly in Section 4. Again, I already kind of touched on Elko. They've already done this. We talked with Coach Connors about this a couple of years ago after they lost to the Goretti. They lost that senior class. They steadily build up. And then last year they went to states, but now they get hit again. He told me, he told us, he really likes his young crop. What does that mean for the here and now? I don't know. Again, especially with Catholic and with Octorara, who plays a style who you probably don't see all that often. I'm not sure. But again, Braden Bohannon, certainly a good place to start. But as we all know, being one of the guys is different from being the guy. But again, if you saw our interview, Coach Connors thinks Braden is ready for that. I can't really disagree with that either. And then, you know, I know Donegal had a tough year, but I see they're pretty active on the Twitter machine. They think big things are happening for them this year, and I don't think they're going to go over. And one guy who I would like to mention from Donegal is Khalil Masden. He's young, he's raw, he's going to play inside, he can stretch you out. He's a bit of a project, but I think he's going to be one of these kids who he's worthy of keeping an eye on. And I just hope that he has another good year and continues that upward swing, because I have him down here as a sophomore last year. So he's going to be a junior. If he has a good junior year, maybe he can be, you know, kind of the league dog for Donegal, because who knows what Section 4 is going to look like next year with graduation losses and everything else. So I think that's everybody. I think that's just about everybody on every roster. That's my section.
I can chime in there. You know, with the experience that I had playing last year, Braden Bohannon is so good, guys. Like, he is really, really good. And, you know, I think he was the guy last year. At least when we played him in the LL playoffs, he was the guy. I mean, you know, they had some really good pieces to go around him. But, you know, I think you can't overlook him. You know, he just took their football team. I think that carries over. I think that winning carries over into basketball. And, you know, he can just pull up from 15 feet anywhere on the floor, elevate. You know, Dell, we talked about how good of a mid-range shooter he is. So I think when you have a player that's that special, who scored 1,000 by his junior year. I think they can find some pieces to go around him and compete. Obviously, we scrimmaged Lancaster Catholic before the state playoffs last year. I know the guys they bring back. I mean, Conway just signed to go play at Juniata. Atkinson's just, a bull who knows how to play, knows how to use his body, and is very crafty. So they're clearly going to be at the top. So I think it starts with Catholic, Elko, and Octorara. I think, I didn't get to see them last year, but I know they bring a lot of talent back. And I agree with you. You were saying about Northern Lebanon. I feel like Coach George has been building that. And I think one of these years, I don't know if it's going to be this year, but I think one of these years, they're going to surprise a lot of people.
The one thing that I see with Section 4 is just all these home court advantages are just, it's amazing to me. I mean, I go to Octorara and the kids are standing the whole time. It's a different feel in Octorara. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of commotion all over the place. The kids are into it. Lancaster Catholic, same deal. Northern Lebanon, you got a pit up there. And Elko, that's a different place. I asked Coach Connor, so how are you going to put all them people in there, especially in the end zones, and you don't have a dance on Friday night? And it's like, what are you going to do? And he was laughing, but even Donegal's got a different feel to it with their new gym. So,
it's funny. I'll add one thing just from a coach's perspective. We talk about coaches, and I talk about the relationships the coaches have in the league a lot. And somebody like Brad Connors, we beat them the last 2 years in the first round of the LL playoffs. The morning after we beat them both times, he texted me, said, "Hey, Rock, congratulations. You guys deserved it. We're really hurting right now, but we're rooting for you." That's pretty cool. And Coach Klazis, I mean, I get a random email from him, every time we would win a big game. I get an email, "Hey, Rock, great win. Congratulations." Like, I mean, that's the type of camaraderie. And it starts with those two guys, who are just very down to earth, and they're great coaches and they're good people.
I mean, we're very lucky, I think. I think our league kind of gets it as far as competitive versus, we're kind of all in this together, and head coaches especially, can feel what's going on with other programs and how to deal with each other. And, I know the juices flow once the juices flow. Once the game's on, the game's on. But we've always had a lot of success and a lot of cooperation with these guys, even after losses. I can go back to Coach Johns. He gave me all sorts of heck a couple of years ago. He says, "Well, you didn't talk to me." I said, "Well, you lost." He says, "Well, why wouldn't you talk to me?" I'm like, "Well, you're back in that labyrinth about a half a mile away, so I can't even find you half of the time." That's the first thing. But anyway, that's what we got. So let's shift gears. I know we got some players, Andy, in Section 5. I mean, there's some talent there. I mean, it might not be the big schools, but we're talking triple A, double A, and single A here, I think. I don't know about the double A. You'll have to help me out there. But go ahead, Andy. Section 5.
Section 4, I'm telling you, there are some thoroughbreds down here. And again, I know it's Section 5, so people might poo-poo that a little bit, but that would be a grave mistake. Now, as far as from a team perspective, I like Columbia a lot. I really do. I was just going over their roster here before we started, and I know I've seen them a lot, so I'm kind of, my views are somewhat skewed towards them, but they're returning all 5 on a team that went to leagues, went to districts, went to states. I know the state game didn't go obviously their way, and talking to Coach Glover after the game at South Philly, that was evident that he was not happy. But they have that core group, and I've said this before, they are, and Rock, you can attest to this, they're over at Nook even on nights they don't play. Like, they're just basketball junkies. So I like Columbia, and it's weird because we don't have that home court thing. Like, what's Columbia going to be like with not Columbia? Like, that's just weird, but I don't know. We'll have to figure that out as we get there. But then I guess the leading scorer in the league isn't a bad place to go for Mennonite, right? Like, I mean, Cole Fisher, I said this before, every time I turn on Twitter, I mean, he's 25 on Sunday, 22 in this game. Like, so he can probably go for what, like 30, but you can probably pencil him in for about 20-ish, like pretty reliably. And then my other guy who I've been on him for, well, let's go here. Let's go Country Day. Let's go to the team that won the district title 2 years ago. It's really interesting to see how they would look without Drew running the point guard show, who was kind of their main key guy on the year they went to districts and won it. And I know Coach Schultz didn't like me because I saw them about 4 or 5 times, and each time it was a big fat L. I saw him, and sometimes in the most heartbreaking of fashion. But I know he put on Twitter last night, Lance Lennon. It's another guy. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't know about him, but he's been there for the long haul. He has a district medal. He's been a starter for that whole thing. I mean, I like his game a lot, and especially in Section 5, where sometimes it's just my guy is better than your guy, and you can't stop it type of thing. So I like Lance Lennon a lot. He's the good place for Country Day to start. And also, I'd be very remiss. We're talking about shooters here with Rumbaugh and guys like that, but Grant Landis, I don't think gets the respect he deserves from a shooting perspective. I mean, another little guy. He's 5'9" right here. Only a sophomore last year, so going to be a junior. But I think it was the Kutztown game I saw. It was one of the games I saw. I think he had like 5 or 6 threes. Like, you know, you might want to guard him after a while, but he still got loose and, you know, got off the screens and everything like that. So I like Country Day. And then, yeah, the guy I'll get to him last, I guess. But Dell, your alma mater, it's going to be tough. I mean, they lose the 2 Long brothers. I mean, Junior Boers as well. So I'm not quite sure how they're going to really fit into this mix. But the other team the other player I really want to talk about, and I know I've been on him for the last couple of years, but Devin Collier at PV. Mm-hmm. The only way I can really put this is if he's on and he's playing within his, I don't know, realm or box or whatever, I don't know if there's a more talented player in the league. I really don't. Now, what's that going to mean? And again, in Section 5, and can he carry the mail to, you know, lead them to better years than they've had? I don't really know. But that just kind of underscores the fact that there's a lot of guys. Like, this section is dripping with just pure talent. I mean, Pequay Valley is a team you really don't think about, but I'm saying they might have the most talented player in the league. Like, that's kind of just goes to what this section is this year. And this is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I think, again, team perspective, Columbia is probably the favorite, but yeah, Cole Fisher's in there, Collier's in there, Lance Lennon's in there. Grant Landis can shoot, Country Day in any game. So hopefully you can tell, I think Section 5 is going to be really, really fun. That's how I see it.
I got a good Section 5 story. So Seth Buckwalter was a senior in high school at Lancaster Mennonite when I was a junior at Bishop McDevitt, and they beat us at the old Hershey Park Arena in the District 3, back then 3A semifinals. And here's the cool part, Dell. The rumor has it, and Seth, you'll have to reach out to us and straighten this out. The rumor has it was he was signed, sealed, and delivered to go to play for Coach Slosser at E-Town. And they went on that deep run in the districts. So by them beating us, made him go. He ended up at what, Shippensburg or Bloomsburg? Division 2 school. Yeah. So I always think if I'd have beat him that game, I might have been able to play with him at E-Town. So I think I look at players, they make such huge jumps in between each year. And like, I look at somebody like Cole Fisher, and I've never been able to see him in person, but I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter. I hear you guys talk about him. I see the numbers he puts up. If he can make that kind of jump, I mean, he was pretty darn good last year. If he can make that kind of jump that normally kids make between their junior and senior year, you know, you could have something special there. And again, I kind of go to that Braden Bohannon thing. Like, he is really, really good. So, you know, that goes a long way. They can beat any team on any given night. And I think it's Mennonite, and I think it's Columbia. You know, Carey, I love Carey to death, man. He's a gym rat. He's turned that program into a bunch of gym rats, starting with his son, the point guard, who I think is going to explode this year as a junior. You know, and I haven't seen a lot of the other teams, so I can't really say, but you know, those are the 2 teams that I'd start with.
Yeah, I'll agree with Andy that there is players on each team, and the Dutchman lost a lot. I know when we talked to Coach Coletti, he was about building a program, and unfortunately, this summer didn't quite go the way he wanted. But let me follow up on Rocky's story, because Dell Jackson was an assistant in Elizabethtown College at that game at Hershey Park. Okay, so I'm out there recruiting, and Seth's way up on our list, and we're calling and talking to him, and I'm like a puppy dog. I'm following him around, and so I'm back here in those locker rooms waiting outside, and I'm waiting outside, and I'm waiting out. The game's over. I'm waiting outside. I'm waiting out. I don't know where he went. Well, he's sitting out front watching the game. I'm like, how did he get away from me? So, I had to go back and tell Coach Slauson I didn't even talk to him, and that didn't go over real well, Rock. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
that.
I bet it did.
So I'm thinking like, oh man, we lost him right there. So, oh, that's great stuff. Hey, here's what we're gonna do this year. We're gonna try to get the three of us on once a week. We're gonna try, maybe Sunday nights. And we're going to try to get some guests on, and I think that'll make the show pretty good. We'll kind of rewrap what we saw. I know Rocky's going to see a lot of E-Town games. His son's a sophomore on that team. Andy and I will get out like we normally do. We'll try to get a live stream together. We're working on it. We bought some new equipment, and we gotta kind of work out some bugs, and we got to be able to get into some gyms here. So that's kind of what we're looking at. I do have the schedules up, but they're no good anymore because that was before our 17 game stuff. I talked with Coach today. They're still planning on L finals, so we'll see how that goes. We put up on our website this week, we put up a link to LO Hoops Twitter. It's up in the top right-hand corner. And we put up a link to LO Hoops Facebook. It's also up in the right-hand corner. So that's one of the things. And then the other thing that we're going to try to do after tonight is we'll have our own little tab for Press Break. So we'll put these guys up on YouTube so you can go back and watch them. And we'll try to send out tweets. It's like, okay, we talked about section 1 at this time, section 2 at this time. I know watching this stuff for an hour is kind of rough, but people can kind of pick and choose. And as we go forward, I think it's a good mix. I'm really happy for Rocky to be joining us, and Andy and I, we've been doing the Zooms for, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, and it's been really good to us. I mean, people enjoy them. We have a great time with the coaches. Rock was talking about Coach Connors the other day. He just had so much enthusiasm. I could feel it through the screen. And we had Coach Fisher on the other day. It took him a while to warm up. But I'm telling you, once he warmed up, I had to cut him off. We ran out of time. I said, Coach, we're up. He said, I see. I said, we're up. And he said, well, I got to tell you one more thing. It was hilarious. It was just hilarious.
Once you get him going. Yeah, once you get him.
His just demeanor was outstanding. And some of these guys, it's like, dang, man, maybe I should be an assistant coach again. I mean, that's how good some of these guys are. So, we're ready to go forward. Andy, anything that I missed?
No, if all this stuff isn't apparent that I'm ready to go and everything else, I don't know. Like I said, hopefully y'all enjoyed it. Hopefully there's some bulletin board material out there. More than happy to offer that to coaches and teams and everything like that. But no, I mean, like I said at the outset, I mean, we're looking forward to this. We, God willing, we'll be in as many games as we possibly can. And I mean, who knows what it's going to look like? It's going to be weird. It's going to be herky jerky and start and stop and everything like that. But, I mean, let's just take advantage of the games we get. I mean, I'm glad that the window of opportunity was basically granted for if, X, Y, and Z happens, there's still that window of time to allow for, rescheduling or whatever like that. So I'm ready to go. Rock, thanks for coming to the dark side and joining the media. Hopefully we didn't scare you away, or hopefully I didn't scare you away, but
no, man, I love it.
It's always a lot of fun doing these, Dell. This is this is what now 3 years in a row. The night before Thanksgiving, we kick off the season officially or unofficially.
Yeah. Yes. And I got to thank Andy for press break. It was just awesome. I'm like, Andy, we got to come up with something. And, you know, the coaches are hollering, somebody's pressing and says, press break, press break. So, you know, I get my daughter. I get my daughter to do the banner, and she puts press inside the press break. I'm just laughing. That's great. That is just awesome. I love it.
So here's a funny story too, real quick. So there's another show about another sport that I also created the name for that I used to be on that is still ongoing. So I don't know, maybe I have a career in marketing or PR or something if I can create like weird.
There's no better marketing than that right there, baby. So I'm a homer all year with my claw ball. But hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Anybody out there who's interested, I do a high school basketball podcast. Follow us at Early Retirement Pod on Twitter. There's some, you know, like I said, 14 episodes of that'll get your basketball fix. We're going to continue to do those during the season as well.
Nice.
Buy his jerseys. Christmas is coming up. Buy his jerseys. I got 2.
Yeah, there you go. It's all good. Ella Hoops is looking for a girls writer too. I'm going to throw that out at the end. So anybody wants to write for us, get a hold of me. I think it would add a lot to what we're doing. So thank you. Hopefully we'll see you very soon. I'll post this up tonight, and have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. And then hopefully we'll hit the courts here a couple weeks. All right. Good night, guys.
See you guys.